must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
The government of Kenya is keen on the development of social economic infrastructure to support the realization of the Big Four agenda and Vision 2030. The ambitious infrastructure projects are aimed at opening up the country for business and bolster productivity, particularly in the agricultural, manufacturing and the service industry, as this would bolster employment opportunities. Part of these critical infrastructure projects include the ongoing 27-kilometer expressway linking Nairobi's Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and Nairobi's Westlands. Upon completion, the expressway will exponentially reduce travel times within Nairobi and thus help the country save man-hours, which is being lost in the traffic jams on a daily basis. The Lake Victoria Port Modernization Project to increase cargo handling capacity of the port and to increase Kenya's bilateral and multilateral trading within the region. The expansion of healthcare facilities to facilitate fruition of the country's universal healthcare coverage under the Big Four agenda. By speeding up movement of people and goods, the government is aiming to promote trading through reduction of travel times and costs.
In the last 6 to 7 months, the war in Somalia has changed goalposts. The government of Somalia seems to have changed its modus operandi. Instead of supporting AMISOM and supporting the efforts of the other agencies and other countries that have gone in Somalia to support them, to help the pacification of Somalia, the return of Somalia to the world order. The government in Mogadishu has instead initiated a move towards fighting the same governments that went to Somalia to help them. A few weeks ago, the Kenyan government asked the international community to investigate the reports that were circulating in international media with concrete evidence that money was being channeled through so many sources, including those from Qatar, Turkey, and some other countries, Norway, and so on, that were trying to kill the peace that we are trying to build in Somalia. The Somalia crisis dates back in 1991 when Ziad Barre was toppled. The Americans came and did a half job, left it in our hands for us to solve. We have tried our level best. The nationals of Uganda, Burundi, Kenya, Djibouti, Ethiopia have all perished in Somalia. They have perished in the sense to bring up a better Somalia for the people of Somalia, the best generation that will come. But these efforts are being hampered by President Mohamed Farmajo, who himself has turned on AMISOM and turned on Kenyan troops and made them enemies. The shooting down of a plane yesterday, a Kenyan plane that was carrying medical equipment, is a climax of all the activities, underground activities that have been conducted, supplied, equipped, logistically by the government of Somalia. It is sad, therefore, for a government that we went to help, where we have lost human resources, material resources, We have lost very many people in our places, injured, killed because of the fight in Somalia. Ugandans and the Kenyans have paid a very high price for this type of liberation, to liberate Somalia from the hands of the terrorist organizations that are still in that country. It is surprising, therefore, to hear that the same government that we are helping has become a puppet government supplied by Qatar and Turkey, importing the Middle East type of operations into the region. This region goes on, and it is bringing quite a lot of difficulties for the people of the region. As I said, the shooting down of the plane that was carrying medical equipment to help the people of Somalia who are dying at huge numbers and are reported very badly by the government in Mogadishu is a sign that there is some conspiracy between the militants who are government sponsored with those who are guarding in Baridera. The situation remains tense. We therefore leave it to the international community, to the African Union, to peace well-wishers, to find out the link and the thread, the Qataris, the Turkish, the United Arab Emirates, the Norwegians, what role are they playing in destabilizing Somalia? We thank the troops on the ground, the Uganda People's Defense Forces, the Kenya Defense Forces in Kismayo, who have kept peace despite the provocations of the government in Mogadishu. We like to take this opportunity as a Pan-African organization and organizations in Africa to call upon President Faramijo to stop these war-like activities against the same people, allies who came to liberate Somalia from the hands of terrorist groups that keep on coming and multiplying in Somalia. This is the double-edged sword of the Somali government. They work both sides, they cut both sides. If we are wrong, the world will see. Thank you.
Very good morning to you, and thank you so much for joining us. This is the People's Court. My name is Miriam Ogutu, and we're coming to you from Kenya's capital here in Nairobi. A beautiful morning indeed. I trust you're well. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're tuned in today. Our topic of discussion this morning is Kenya's plan to close refugee camps here. And it appears it's going to be a very delicate balance there for Kenya, a national interest versus international obligations. Which way, as Kenya has ordered the closure of two sprawling camps that host hundreds of thousands of refugees from neighboring Somalia and gave the United Nations Refugee Agency, UNHCR, 2 weeks to present a plan to do so. The Dadaab and the Kakuma refugee camps in the northern Kenya has more than 400,000 people, a small portion of them from South Sudan. Citing national security concerns, authorities in Nairobi first announced the intention to shut the Dadaab camp, which is closer to the border with Somalia than Kakuma, in 2016. And so that will form the basis of our conversation this morning. And joining me on the panel is Professor Jared Onyari. Professor, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Miriam, my fellow panelists, our viewers from wherever they are this morning or afternoon or evening.
All right, good morning. And we are also joined by Musa Abdi Haji from Isiolo County. Musa, very good morning to you. Okay, as we wait for Musa to join there, we do have Douglas Kirimi. Douglas, good morning.
A very good morning to you, Miriam Mogutu, and also to my co-panelist, Professor Jared Onyari, Samuel Tawish, Musa Galmadido, and also to my friend Jevan Karanja, and also to our crew and our viewers across the world. Thank you for having me on the show, Miriam.
Thank you so much, Douglas. It's a pleasure. And we're also joined by Samuel Tawish, also from Nairobi. Tawish, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Miriam, and the rest of the panelists. I'm glad to have joined you this morning for this program.
All right. Okay. And all the way from where I hear, we do have some Russian COVID vaccine. In Nanyuki is Jevan Karanja. At us usually Jevan, good morning.
Good morning, Miriam.
Good
morning. Good morning. Good morning to our viewers and my co-panelists. Indeed, this is a place of controversy in terms of the Russian vaccine, but the government is rising to the occasion to ensure that everything is on the right track. Thank you.
All right, I hope so. All right, thank you so much. I think Musa shall join us and we will continue with this conversation. As I have said in the introduction there, CS of Interior, Fred Matiang'i, has come out very strongly and he feels it is time to close down these refugee camps in the country, raising some security concerns that this has posed to the country. I'll just start with you, Professor Jared Onyari. This new move by Kenya, what do you make of it?
Miriam, let me just give this small story so that I can be able to pass the message on the status of the refugee and what needs to be done. Miriam, once I was a PTA member in the school, in this parent-teacher association. And in my class, Miriam, there were some students who were not able to pay school fees because they come from vulnerable backgrounds. Maybe they were orphans, Miriam. And I was persuading the parents so that we start a kitty to cater for these students so that they don't pull our class down. Some of the parents were cooperative, some could not understand. So I got the opportunity, Miriam, to address them and I asked them, Miriam, I need to understand, my fellow parents, make me understand this. Is there anyone who makes application for their children to be orphans, to be a widow, to be a widower? And all of them were just silent like this. To cut the story short, Miriam, I was able to persuade them. So we adopted that resolution and we started contributing 200 things, and it was making a difference for those vulnerable children and those orphans, Miriam. I come back here, Miriam. Tell me where someone makes application to become a refugee. Is it because of the other day decide, Miriam, one morning that let us go to Kenya? Who wants to come to this your country? Who wants to go to the other country? People run away from their country, Miriam, because of the fear persecution. They fear for their lives, Miriam. They fear security, Miriam. And then they come to your country. You give a ultimatum, Miriam, that you want to send them, Miriam. On this, Miriam, I am not with the leadership of the government of Kenya because I'm on humanity. The refugees, Miriam, are subject to international law. Achana hii mambo ya Kenya kuambia security. Which security are you talking about? Which kind of security because of your security? Don't just go and blame the security, the refugees simply because your security agencies cannot be able to vet. Why can't we provide security around the refugee camps, Miriam, to know their activities, Miriam? What you can see here, Miriam, it is in the BBI. It is because of corruption. When these terrorists or Al-Shabaab, when they pass to the country, Miriam, where is our security, Miriam? I don't know where they close their eyes, Miriam. So on this, Miriam, what I know, our security is paramount, but Miriam, the international community cannot allow you. They tried in 2016, and I'm sure they will not succeed this time. Until you feel that you are safe to go back to your country frontally, Miriam. That's what happens. Miriam, let us be civil to one another. Let us abide the golden rules. You never know. I said yesterday, Miriam, we have had trouble in Southern Sudan. We have had trouble in Uganda. Burundi, Democratic Republic of Congo, Rwanda, Ethiopia, and Somalia. Don't think, Miriam, that we are an island. And the way we are trying to say the president has come with redemption strategy, which some other people are not embracing, Miriam, we can easily find ourselves. I don't know, Miriam, where you will jump to, whether it is Uganda or Ethiopia or Southern Sudan or that Somalia, which is not safe. So from where I sit, Miriam, let us have a conversation. Let us find a better way, Miriam, to deal with the security, Miriam. Kenya is not a banana republic, Miriam. I'm not persuaded, Miriam. We have got intelligence. We know who are the troublemakers. And if we don't have them, Miriam, let us engage the international community and let us sit around the table and see the refugees we have around the country, Miriam. They are causing insecurity in our country. So, Miriam, we can have a conversation through African Union, through IGAD, through United Nations, Miriam. And Miriam, you want to tell me Kenya sits in the United Security Council and then you do this one? No. Miriam, hapana. Hiyo nimekataa.
Okay.
Nimekataa kabisa.
Very well. Thank you so much. Yes, Kenya is a non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, and it assumed that position in January. So, Dadaab refugee camp.
And one of the strengths, Miriam, is that we are fighting terrorism in the region. Why? That's why we were voted.
Okay. Thank you. Point taken, Professor. Now, Dadaab refugee camp has been there for over about 25 years and is the world's largest refugee camp, home to mostly Somali refugees who have fled famine, violence, and persecution in their own home country. The United Nations Human Commission for Refugees estimates that more than 350,000 people currently live there. Both of these camps were created in the early 90s. Kakuma currently houses about 70,000 East African refugees, while Dadaab is known to be the largest refugee camp in the world, with approximately about over 280,000 refugees. And to be precise, the Dadaab and Kakuma refugee camps in northern Kenya host more than over 400,000 refugee people, a small portion of whom are from South Sudan. This latest move by Kenya wanting to close down these refugee camps, and you've seen the number of people who live in refugee camps. Before we look at the reasons the government is giving now, Musa Abdi, what do you make of this new move? And this is not the first time.
Thank you, Miriam, for that question. I will just head directly to the agenda of this intention by the Kenyan government to close the camp. Kenya has been hosting Dadaab and Kakuma refugee camp for the past 25 years, Miriam, as you put it. And when you look at the presence of NGOs and, non-government organizations and humanitarian organizations, they have really done their good, Miriam. But I want to share the history of these two refugee camps, Miriam, because I've been there. I know how it feels to be in that camp. Unfortunately, Miriam, when a terrorist comes in the clothing of a refugee or an asylum seeker, Miriam, and tries to apply for that, then you sometimes you found yourself in the question of ethics, Miriam. You do the good or you do the moral, or you just leave the moral and the good for the better of this country's national security, Miriam. And this question is very serious. The Dadaab refugee camp, for example, Duale never mentioned it in the advent of Garissa University College attack and Garissa University College attack and Westgate and other areas. They have been a good practice ground for radicalization in that camp, Miriam. And what Kenyan government has been doing, you can never blame Uhuru Kenyatta on these issues of fighting terrorism, Miriam. And Uhuru Kenyatta has tried his best. The other time, even you saw in Tanzania, Miriam, when he was delivering the speech, people were seeing that as a public stunt, pulling of a public relations stunt, but that shows that our president has a religious tolerance, Miriam. We understand all these things, a good number of them emanates from traditional counties of Wajir, Garissa, and Mandera in northern Kenya. But never has it been that president has taken a stand of humiliating, threatening, or taking any sense of harassment to these communities living in those areas, Miriam. Kenya has been so tolerant of this. with clear understanding that radicalization and illegal activities of youths to be recruited in joining Al-Shabaab is happening very, very deep in these camps. Kenya has taken the international obligation, but you cannot take international obligation forever of hosting a refugee camp. Anyway, Somalia is stabilizing, Miriam. The other time when United Nations Refugee Commissioner intervened, Kenya said, fine, we are going to extend. But I think with evolution of how things are happening in Somalia, Miriam, when I cannot mention, I know we have been good neighbors, we've been having good relations, Miriam, but I feel at this time, as a northerner, and I'm not lying to you, people are saying, even leave alone opportunities and sense of, accessing ideas and sort of people being naturalized to be Kenyans from that camp. It's a matter of national security, Miriam. I have interacted with radical people. I've interacted with radicalizers of people who are joining Al-Shabaab, Miriam. There was a time I was really, really approached by these people only for me to stand my ground. And I know how the Dab refugee camp, Miriam, stands as far as this question is concerned. So these are issue of national security. Al-Shabaab are really knowing how to infiltrate Kenya, Miriam, by some of these guys applying as refugee and asylum seekers. That is number one. Number two, Miriam, leave alone even the issue of security, security and pandemic here. Kenya needs planning. Kenya needs to realign itself on how they can focus on internal issues more than external issues. Remember, when you are hosting one of the largest camps in the world, Miriam, you need to realign and you need to re-strategize even your security. I know we've been home to diplomatic hubs and these United Nations and, humanitarian, organizations coming here, but I think it is time, because Somalia is now stable. Let us close the camps. Let these people go back voluntarily, Miriam. For those people who want to be Kenyan, let the process begin. But I feel the action taken by Dr. Fred Matiang'i and the Kenyan government as far as this is concerned is the right action, Miriam. Let the due process be followed. Let there be no harassment. Let there be voluntary, Miriam, relocation of these refugees and people back to their nation, Miriam.
All right. Thank you so much. Tanzania and the President, the late now John Pombe Magufuli, tried to pull the same move of repatriating back refugees from Burundi who ran away during the attempted coup in 2015, and they came to Tanzania. And so I think a year ago, President Magufuli, the late now, said, your country is stable, you can go now. And some Burundians didn't really want to go. But I think they were repatriated, if I'm not very wrong. Not so many of them are still remaining there in Tanzania, because he was arguing that your country is a bit stable. But we cannot compare, Burundi and Somalia. Somalia, there's still a bit of the insecurity and stability going on there. This latest move, Tawish, by the government.
Very well. Thank you so much, Miriam, and of course, my fellow panelists for the contribution you've made this far. First, let me just amplify what Professor Nyari did say as regards to the refugees. I want to submit that refugees, no one really applies to be a refugee, and anyone can become a refugee anytime. And I think that is also very, very important for us to underscore. Having said that, when you're invited or when you get into someone's house or place, you need to behave with some level of civility or with some level of mannerism that is acceptable in that particular society. So I think Kenya's decision or Kenya's position in this region to have hosted the biggest, or rather the largest refugee camp in the name of Dadaab and also Kakuma camp is something that has to be appreciated. It's something that we need all to laud the Kenyan government and the Kenyan people for that hospitality. But again, now that the Kenyan government are saying it is maybe enough for the visitors, it is enough for these refugees to go back to where they came from. There are very important things we need to actually look into before we even support such kind of calls from government, including as to whether these fellows who ran away from their country is the place that we are asking them to go back, is it safe for them? Because property could have been destroyed, lives were destroyed. These people, most of them may be almost a full generation. We talk about over 25 years. You can imagine there are people most of them who have been born here in Kenya, and the only place they know as home is Kenya, and that Dadaab refugee camp. So if you wake up today and say they have to go back home, There are people who do not know any other home apart from Kenya or apart from that refugee camp where they were born. So we have to be very careful. Much as we are looking into stabilizing security, as the Kenyan government is giving reason as to why they want to repatriate back these refugees, we have to look into all these factors. Is Somalia, for example, stable? Is it enjoying the peace? Because we need to look into the first reason, the primary reason as to why these people actually moved away from their country and came to seek asylum in Kenya. Was it not because of lack of peace? Was it not for lack of stability in Somalia? Have we pacified Somalia enough? Is Somalia stable enough now to be able to accommodate and take care of these people who are now actually in the run? So we have also to look into to have a humanitarian eye, much as we talk about repatriating these people. But again, also coming to the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, they also have to consider the fact that Kenya has been doing this out of a humanitarian level, out of the international treaties that they signed. But again, are they giving Kenya enough support to be able to sustain this continued living of these fellows in this country? The countries or the international bodies that are supposed to support Kenya, be it in terms of resources, especially financially, are they supporting Kenya? Because those could be some of the reasons that Kenya could be advancing in asking to repatriate back these citizens. So we also have to petition the United Nations High Commission for Refugees and all other stakeholders. What is it that they are doing? What is it that they are not doing in as far as supporting Kenya in hosting these refugees is actually concerned. Mm-hmm. There's an aspect of security as well, because when we talk about security, Kenya being now an unpermanent member in the United Nations Security Council, it plays a pivotal role. And like Professor Onyari did say, the reason why probably Kenya was elected into that position is by virtue of them having a champion and lobby for this position, owing to the role it plays in this region. It plays a significant role by trying to pacify Somalia and ensure there's security in Somalia and largely in the region, and also by hosting a large number of refugees in the region. By that virtue, I think it gave credence to Kenya's having been elected into a non-permanent member in the United Nations Security Council. So having been elected just I think it is not even a year if I'm not wrong, and for Kenya to turn back and say, now we are not going to continue hosting the refugees, or you're not going to continue pacifying Somalia, we are not going to support peace initiatives in the region, will not augur well with the commitment that Kenya has demonstrated for over a long period of time. Mm-hmm. So I think the Kenyan government need to come out clearly and tell, if it's about lack of resources, they have to speak about it so that the stakeholders can come out and see which way they can support Kenya in terms of resources. If it's about security in Somalia and security in Kenya, because again, they have advanced a reason that most of the attacks that have happened in the country were actually prepared, or rather the breeding ground was actually in these particular camps. I may not authoritatively give a direct link between these refugee camps and the attacks that you have witnessed in this country ever since Al-Shabaab started striking this country, or even this region, the East Africa region. But again, what is it that the stakeholders can do to help Kenya actually continually pacify Somalia and ensure our stability and security at home is not compromised by virtue of them going to Somalia? So those are some of the things that Kenya needs to come out clearly, and also other stakeholders. I wouldn't quite want to give a blanket condemnation on either the government or the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, or even other stakeholders who are involved in this particular matter, but we need to look at it from a critical point of view and understand that much as we want them to go back, it does not affect their livelihood, it does not affect their peace, it does not affect even their future. Because you can just tell them to go back, yes, because again, you have that authority, but where are you sending them? If there could be an alternative of taking them to another country, it would have been better. But in this case, I don't think Somalia is safe for these people to go back. We should have a second look on this matter, Miriam.
Okay, thank you so much, Samuel Tawish. Now, the Kenyan government's attempt to close Dadaab in 2016 came on the back of intelligence reports showing that 2 attacks on Kenyan targets in 2013 and 2015 took place with involvement of elements in the camps. So these attacks were planned and, in the camps there before they were executed across the country, and that is according to intelligence report that the government has. Douglas, what's your opinion on the latest move by CS Matiang'i, saying it's about time? And this is not the first time. The first move was in 2013, which I'll take us through. And so, what do you make of this latest move?
Miriam, my opinion on that is a bit divided. I agree mostly with the sentiments of the panelists who have said that when you send Somalis to their country, where are you sending them? Miriam, at this point, this is where Somalis will be in a position that they may not be able to explain very well. And a majority of them will start making noise and start saying that we are signatory to what statues do what, and many other things, Miriam.
And we are. And I'll let you know about those statues in a minute, but go ahead.
I know, Miriam. But the truth of the matter is the way Somalis have, and the people of Somalia, and especially their leadership, have treated the Republic of Kenya with a lot of contempt. At this point, it doesn't matter the kind of statues that we are signatories to. What matters is the stability of our nation. If these refugee camps have become security threats to national security threats to our nation, Miriam, there is no president that shows when they take their oath to office. There is no president that shows to protect refugees from other countries. There is no president that is loyal to other people. There is no president that is loyal to the soil and blood, and also to the flag of another nation. They are only loyal to their nation and their people, their soil and their flag. Miriam, at this point, the security of the people of Kenya comes first before the security of the people of Somalia. We have extended our own hospitality to the people of Somalia for far too long. At this point, Miriam, it is the high time the people of Somalia condemn the dictator in power in Mogadishu, Mohamed Farmajo, to continue pacifying the peace in their country. What Farmajo is doing today, he is continuing amassing an armory for fight in Indian Ocean for the oil and gas in Indian Ocean, instead of taking back his refugees and helping his people build their country, Miriam. What is not acceptable today is that Farmajo continues training 1,000 people, 1,000 military people, so that they can continue their threats to war with the people of Kenya. Over 400,000 people are in refugee camps in Kenya today from Somalia, Miriam. There is no signatory that Kenya is party to that can be able to let us continue having these people in our country when they can go back to their country, build their country, and issue threats to our nation and also our security, when they can be able, Miriam, to go back in their country and do so from their soil. They cannot do so when they are using the connectivity in our country, the business, the friendly, the peace and tranquility in our country to continue threatening the peace of our country, Miriam. All these affronts to our national security from the people of Somalia and their leadership in Mogadishu, in Vira, Somalia, led by a man that is supposed to have called for election since the 8th of February, in February 2021, Mohamed Farmajo. They need to go back to their country and help build their country. They cannot build their country when they're in Dadaab, Miriam. They cannot build their country when they are in Kakuma. They need to go back to Somalia and speak from their soil. They can be able to go back there and help Mohamed Farmajo stay in power while they're in their own country, Miriam. One thing that we cannot accept as the people of Kenya, we have been too hospitable to these people for over 25 years now. There is no signatory that says that an affront to our national security as a country should be perpetuated because we want to care about the people of Somalia. We've been brothers and sisters to the people of Somalia. What have they done? They continue aiding a dictator to steal our well blocks in Indian Ocean. They continue insulting the people of Kenya, saying that we are interfering with the internal democracy. We are interfering with the internal issues, Miriam. At this point, all these affronts from the people of Somalia and their leadership in Mogadishu, it is the high time, in their wisdom, the government of Kenya sends over 400,000 refugees back to their country, Miriam. It is the high time these people don't fear their country. It is their own country. Their country went to the dogs because it is their country, Miriam. They cannot deny Somali. They need to go back there, Miriam. At this point, we cannot have people that don't love our country, but they want to stay here because they are protected by some signatories that we are a party to as a country, Miriam. They need to go back to Somalia so that we can be able to debate about issues in Indian Ocean while they are there in their country, Miriam. We cannot continue funding and also helping keeping these people in our country, Miriam, when all they can see is an affront to their national security and sovereignty as a country. I keep asking the people of Somalia,
Which country are you talking about? Are you talking about the country that is run by Mohamed Farmajo? There is no one that signs a paper like Professor Jared Onyari has said to go back to become a refugee. Nobody likes to be born a refugee in Dadaab and Kakuma. But it is the high time the people of Somalia embrace the nationhood, sovereignty of their country, as they call it. Go back to their country, build their country, and become better citizens of the world, Miriam. Because as the people of Kenya, this is an affront to our national security. When our national security is threatened, Miriam, we cannot keep talking about signatories, about refugees and all that. We are not loyal to the people of Somalia. We are loyal to our country, our flag and soil. We are loyal to our fatherland. Miriam, it is the high time the people of Somalia embrace their country as it is, embrace their leaders as they call them, and go to their country and build their country. If it means removing Mohamed Farmajo from power, remove him and have your country back, Miriam. You cannot take your country when you're in Dadaab and Kakuma, Miriam. Thank you.
Mera, it's difficult over here. Javan.
Hey, Miriam is becoming hot.
It's normal. Javan, go ahead.
My time, Miriam.
No, I want Javan to come in, and then Professor, I know you have to leave early, and then you can come in after Javan. I want to hear what he makes of this new move by Kenyan government, now making a demand that giving an ultimatum, actually 14 days, they need to go, which I don't know how practical that is. Javan, what is your opinion?
He's not around.
Oh, Javan is not around. All right, yeah, Professor, I'll come back to you. But before I do, let me just read something here so that we understand. Now, since 2013, when Kenya, Somalia, and the United Nations Commission Refugee, Human Rights Commission of Refugee agreed on voluntary repatriation scheme, Somalia refugees on at least 7 go-and-see trips have been able to see Baidoa and Mogadishu, Somalia's capital. So they're supposed to go see if they're comfortable settling. So they've been doing that. And voluntary repatriations from January to December last year amounted to only 26 agreeing to go back. That is according to UNHCR in the small print of its February statistics, while 53 refugees have been settled to other countries, because it's not just the Somali refugees who are in these camps. You also have other nationalities, but they are the majority. And there was an agreement, I think, with Kenya, with the United Nations High Commission for Refugees for repatriation. But it appears UNHCR has been slow in taking on its part of the bargain, I think because of the existing conditions there in Somalia. Professor, you can come on in now. Okay, I think Professor is gone. Musa.
Thank you, Miriam. Just to respond, Miriam, to this question, is that apart from national security concern, Miriam, if you really, a country is, suffering from, the phenomenon of war since 1993, Miriam, and Kenya has done good. They cannot disagree on that. But I can assure you, Miriam, I've seen it with my eyes. I've seen it, my communities being affected in Isiolo, whereby cases of radicalization of young people joining Al-Shabaab militia group across the border, Miriam. I'm speaking this from the point of view of being a victim, Miriam. I lost my cousin to ISIS, Miriam, in 2015. He was in his final year doing economics and statistics, Miriam, in Moi University, when he was influenced through some of the elements in, Dadaab, to go and join these groups, Miriam. And so when we are speaking about the aspects of radicalization, a radicalizer cannot come all the way, Miriam, from Somalia and just radicalize communities. They have these camps, Miriam, which act as a sleeper cell whereby these radical groups and people joining Al-Shabaab across the border is ventured into, Miriam. As the statistics are showing, Isiolo is leading in the whole of Kenya, Miriam, as acting as hotbed for, radicalization. You remember the Dusit D2 attack? That guy called Salim Gishunge comes from my county, Miriam. He is the son of a former KDF officer. I know his mom, Miriam. And we've been through the kind of issues you face when it is issues of national security. And people maybe might not be seeing this, but Miriam, I have seen it for myself. And communities have been purging in Isiolo because we border Garissa, which is now bordering where Dadaab is in now. Many people are joining through that route, Miriam. And Now leaving this at the expense of, at the, expense of now being an international community, respecting international protection of refugees, sometimes, Miriam, is so unfair when the real Kenyans are suffering from this, Miriam. Yesterday, you saw a bus traveling from Mandera to Nairobi, which was hit by an IED, Miriam. I think you are aware of that news, whereby 3 people are injured and 3 people are killed and 4 others were injured. Now, even the government is afraid to establish mega infrastructure project in those regions for the fear of it being bombed down, Miriam. The road which is being built from Isiolo to Madogashe to Wajir and Mandera cannot sustain itself if indeed IEDs and improvised explosive devices are going to be put on road, Miriam. And most of the time, these are the people because they have sympathy. Refugees, yeah, they are fine. No one can apply to be a refugee, but Miriam, we know where they are coming from. That's what we understand. They come from Dadaab and Kakuma refugee camp. And now how can you be able to differentiate between the good one and the bad one, Miriam? And the fact Somalia has shown indeed they are stable. It's only a stable country which goes after its foreign policy. A country which is weak cannot pursue a stronger foreign policy. And we've seen that they have been pursuing a very stronger foreign policy against Kenya in the maritime issue. They are pursuing a very stronger foreign policy against Ethiopia, against other regional powers in the region, Miriam. So I feel if indeed the country is so confident now on issues of foreign policy, it means its domestic policies are good. So I think the notion of, these NGOs, and we know how NGOs survive, Miriam, they create false perspective of something which is not happening. The only organization which can deal with issues of national security is the government, Miriam. So I feel the Dadaab and Kakuma refugee camp should be closed, Miriam. For heaven's sake, whatever we are seeing in this country, Miriam, since 2013, and let me tell you, since 2013, in my own village, Miriam, 5 people, more than 5 have joined this group. Some of them have been called by their parents and many of them have died, Miriam. And now someone is saying that in the name of, Kenya being a beacon of international cooperation and international protection, they should not close the camps. Miriam, for heaven's sake, we've been very patient. 25 years and more than 3 decades is really enough, Miriam. It is time to call it off. And as Dr. Matiang'i had put it, Miriam, no time for further negotiations. I want to bring the third perspective in this, Miriam. Access to equal opportunities. Miriam, before this war on terror came, and I would like to make it this clear, people in northern Kenya, the Kenyan Somalis, the Kenyan Boranas, and the Kenyan Kushites, Miriam, we were treated the same. That's why you had the likes of Yusuf Haji. Those who are truly Kenyan Somalis, Miriam, those who are born and bred in Kenya. But now we've seen some errors, Miriam, whereby there's been delay of issuance of national IDs. This is a national security concern. Delay in issuance of passport, Miriam. Today, Isiolo County, you cannot apply for a passport directly. You must be put on vetting for 2 good months, Miriam, for you to apply for a passport. Why? It is not that Kenyan government hate these Kenyan, the Somalis and these Kushites. It's because of national security, Miriam. Many people are applying for these passports, and yet they are not true Kenyans. Let us not lie about corruption. Has really been so high, Miriam, across the border, whereby people are bribing to get national ID, people are bribing the police in getting these issuance of passport. In the golden days, Miriam, in the region of Isiolo, you remember in 1960s, Isiolo was the headquarters for Eastern Province, Miriam. Due to issues of security and NFD, from Somalia, they had to relocate that to Embu. So we've had enough impact. We've had enough consequences and enough causes as far as these issues is concerned. So what I will urge, I'm very skeptic, Miriam. I know Kenyans are going to be convinced and they are going to open these refugee camps again. My humble plea is, let the process begin. Even in this time of COVID-19, let them be given enough time to think about this, but let this process begin, Miriam, because what I'm seeing, radicalization is really at the highest of time, Miriam, in this country. Unemployed youths who have no jobs, youths who are disgruntled because they have been watching these, clips of, discrimination. All of them, Miriam, are being lured to join this group. So it is my humble plea, the Kenyan government, if there is something better they can do for this country, we've been good, Miriam. We can help the refugees, even being in Somalia, Miriam, for these camps to start a due and fully followed closure process, Miriam. I submit.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes, Professor.
Now my final remarks, I want to check out Miriam very quickly.
You go ahead.
So Miriam, I can see where Musa is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And Musa, listen to me. On this one, I am an expert. Don't doubt. Ask the government to consult me. I've done strategies. My PhD thesis is on terrorism strategies affecting national security. The problem with you is when you pretend to masquerade, when you know nothing. You don't read. You don't just want to come and champ to innocent people. You want to tell me there are refugee camps in Mozambique where the ISIS have reached? There are the refugee camps in Democratic Republic of Congo? Come on, guys. The terrorists are having strategies which are better off. You will cross this camp and they will hammer you. They will hammer you, Musa. So what we need to do, Miriam, is to be civil. And I don't want to be in a panel discussing something which you know very well is unconstitutional. You just go and make a 2010 Constitution, Article 2, subsection 5, 6, which says, any treaty or convention ratified by Kenya shall form part of the law of Kenya under this Constitution. And then you want to turn around and you want to go and you will never touch there. You will never be near those camps. You will not cross. Let us have a conversation and engagement. And I want to associate myself with all sentiment which Samuel gave. Why? There is a ruling, Miriam, the way the people have gone to the court in 2017, and Judge Mativo gave a ruling and said it's unconstitutional. So what we need to do, Musa, Miriam, and the rest of our viewers, is let us engage, let us have a conversation. When you want to go and find old mamas, innocent mamas, they don't know about radicalization, and then you want to cross simply because a few individuals have gone ahead of your intelligence, and you want to blame, that they have gone all the way to Moi and they have taken your young people. Ask yourself, where are young people so much they want to become part of Al-Shabaab? It is because, Miriam, we have denied them the opportunities, Miriam. It is because, Miriam, we have engaged in corruption, Miriam. Our economy is not growing. Miriam, who can't, even you yourself, when life becomes so difficult for you, you want to tell me you cannot become a terrorist? You can become one. Miriam, I was once attending a conference in Uganda, and I was sitting with a very young man who was a terrorist, Al-Shabaab, and he was telling me that these things you are discussing here is sheer nonsense. If I want here now $1,000 or $500, I will get them on my phone. So what we need to do, Miriam, we must be able to deal with the strategies, Miriam. And Miriam, I have said here, Miriam, to be a refugee, Miriam, is not something someone admires. We have seen people who have gone through the job, Miriam. They have become members of the Congress in the United States of America, Miriam. Human beings need to be given opportunities, Miriam. The terrorists cannot defeat us, Miriam. Now we see that the softer option, Miriam, is to go and take them to the other side of Somalia, Miriam. No. A refugee is defined that you run away from your country because you fear persecution. Musa, hear this. It is the responsibility of the government of Kenya and the United Nations, Miriam, to take care of those human beings. So on this one, Dr. Matiang'i, consult widely. This is part of our constitution. We made in our own because we ratified. So when I hear it was it Douglas and Musa were saying that we ratify, if you ratify, it becomes part of your constitution. And you know the process, Miriam. If you want to see change the constitution of Kenya, if you are uncomfortable simply because you ratified, and you put this one in your constitution, Miriam, why don't you start a process and remove it?
Okay.
Let us be very civil, Miriam, so that we cannot, Miriam, I know what it means. I know Musa and Douglas and others, you don't know what it means. I have been a person who has been displaced from his home, Miriam. I have stayed in a tent. I have been fed, I've been given uji with the kasuku. And it means when you are in that tent, someone comes to say, now you can evict you, Miriam. You have seen the best way we have crossed our IDP camps, Miriam. We give people money to go and start life, Miriam. So, Miriam, when you give people 14 days, have you done even logistics and even procurement, Miriam, to where you are taking them? Imagine even animals of the jungle cannot do that. So what I'm trying to say, and as I meet and as I end, Miriam, let us have a sober conversation. Kenya is a stakeholder. There are other stakeholders. United Nations is there. African Union is there. The government of Somalia, you may want to ignore it. And Miriam, let me just be very, very okay, to be very honest here. You might be very well having a noble and excuse to do that one, but the timing is so wrong. We are having that maritime case. So even if we are right, Miriam, the world will pursue us. It is simply because we are having that case. So let us, Miriam, balance issues, Miriam, and we come out of this. The best we can do is to come out of this. Kenya wins, the refugees wins, the United Nations also become a winner. I submit.
Okay. Thank you so much, Professor. Now, the United Nations Refugee Convention, the 1951 Refugee Convention, and the 1967 Protocol asserts that a refugee should not be returned to a country where they face serious threats to their life or freedom. This is now considered a rule of customary international law. UNHCR, which is the refugee agency, serves as the guardian of the 1951 Convention and its 1967 Protocol, which Kenya is a signatory to. Matter of fact, let me get you the date in which Kenya ratified this.
Very well, Miriam.
Kenya ratified this.
As you are getting that one, the refugees, Miriam, have got a right to administrative action.
Okay. And Kenya deposited its ratification to the United Nations in this convention on May 1966. Tukasema tumekubali na hiyo your protocol there. And so the Refugee Convention was drafted in the aftermath of World War II, which saw many millions of people displaced across Europe. It applied only to people who had been displaced as a result of events occurring before then, and since then it has gone on to be adopted. And now it's not just that, but refugees across the world, and as I said there, it has now become a customary international law. If somebody's running away from persecution, if somebody's running away from all these conditions that I've mentioned there, and they're coming to your country for safety, you cannot. If you've signed and you're party to that, you cannot return them back. And we saw an uproar when Nigeria, was it in 2019, returned the Anglophones who had ran to Nigeria, the Anglophone leaders who had ran to Nigeria from the northeast and southwest regions there in Cameroon, and the Nigerian government took them back. But people made noise and nothing really happened. So I don't know if Kenya can get away with this, but that was a small portion compared to all these thousands of people that we are hosting here in the country. So now, the ministry, according to a story on yesterday in the Daily Nation, page 7, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has scheduled a meeting on Friday with ambassadors of other neighboring countries to discuss the fate of their citizens. The talks will either explore whether those who merit can acquire legal papers or get them all back home. Kenya is, however, unable to extend similar diplomacy to Somalia because Mogadishu severed diplomatic ties with Nairobi, alleging interference in the Horn of Africa's nation's elections. So I don't know if we even have Somalia's ambassador here in the country, but Kenya met with the representatives in other countries who have the refugees in some of these camps. But Somalia's, it appears this diplomatic move might not be extended to Somalia and the refugees that we have in Somalia in the country. That I don't know if that is government's official position, but that is according to the story on the Daily Nation. Tawish.
Nadia, my point of departure with Dr. Matiang'i's announcement is what appears to be like an ultimatum for the refugees, to the refugees.
It's not appearing. It is an ultimatum. I think it was very clear. 14 days.
It does appear like an ultimatum, because when he says he's giving 14 days for the refugees to exit the camp,
what I'm saying is it's not appearing like an ultimatum. It is an ultimatum.
Maybe that is the best way I can put it. I don't want to appear like
it is an ultimatum.
I'm officially challenging Dr. Matiang'i, but again, that is how I can best put it. It equally means the same, I think. So much as I may support the need to repatriate the refugees that are in the country, but it has to be done in a meticulous way, like what Professor Onyari has put it. We need to have a plan. We need to have what looks like, how are we going to do it? How are we going to execute it? You get the point? Because again, Kenya may not necessarily have to host the refugees for the rest of the time. I mean, there comes a time when they need to go back home. That one we are not in contest with. But again, it has to be done in a humane way. It has to be done in a way that does not appear we are issuing threats, intimidating these refugees, or even giving them ultimatums. In any case, if there are any diplomatic, of course, I know there are between Somalia and Kenya, for instance, that doesn't have to trickle down or affect the ordinary people who are actually just seeking their safety in the refugee camps that we have here in Kenya. Because again, like Professor Nyari did say, the young child in the Dadaab camp, the elderly in the Dadaab camp do not understand this, what we refer as diplomatic, sour diplomatic relation between Kenya and Somalia, or between Kenya and any other country that maybe Kenya is hosting the refugees or the people who have come to search for asylum here in Kenya. So we have to be very careful that the relationship between Kenya and those particular countries do not affect the ordinary people. Like I said earlier, no one really chooses to be a refugee. This is something that can happen to anyone. It can happen to Kenyans. I remember even 2007, 2008, what happened in this country when we almost got into a brink of collapse. I mean, we had post-election chaos. Some people even ran to the neighboring countries, including to Uganda. There are even some who are actually permanent now in Uganda and running and doing business in Uganda and the other neighboring countries. So we have to be very careful so that we do not appear like we are immune, that we are an island, that such kind of things cannot happen in our country. In fact, going by the rhetoric and reckless political happenings in our country, if we are not very careful, Kenya can as well find herself in a situation like what Somalia is today. So we have to be very careful and tell this country outright in their eyes that maybe what they are doing may not necessarily be in the bigger interest of a majority of Kenyans. So we need to look into it, how we are going to do this without affecting the people who are already in these refugee camps. They are going through a lot, by the way. You can imagine a situation where you are living in a foreign country, your property was destroyed. You don't have a place to call home. The only place you know and you call home is that refugee camp. And here you're being told to go back where you came from, where you do not have a house, you do not have any property, you don't know even where your relatives are. I had the privilege, Miriam and the panelists, around 2009, 2010, if I can remember, to do a story or stories regarding the tribulations of the IDPs, internally displaced persons here in the country. I went to the largest IDP camp in Kenya, that was in Mawingu, I remember those days. And what I saw with my eyes, Miriam, is something that I cannot wish for anyone. I mean, people living in these dingy tents, they don't have, even having one meal a day is a nightmare. It is basically something that is unbearable, something that you do not want to imagine. So, Miriam, I want to say that much as we will call upon this dialogue and negotiations between the stakeholders, all these interests have to be put into consideration. Miriam, I submit.
Okay.
Very well, Sam.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Still on that story that was carried out yesterday on the Daily Nation. However, only 14,000 had been repatriated. Or let me just start from maybe down here so that we can get a better context of this story. President Uhuru Kenyatta's government had initially agreed on the repatriation in November 2013 with Somalia and the UNHCR, which would have seen the refugees return home over a 3-year period. So Kenya, Somalia, and UNHCR agreed on repatriation, I think, over time. However, only 14,000 had been repatriated by April 2016, and the following month, Kenya set another timeline for the closure of the Dadaab refugee complex by November 30th, 2016. The government is this time determined to see to it that the refugees are all repatriated within the next 4 months. Kenya has protested that in the international community, including UNHCR, never honored a pledge to contribute to a kitty to facilitate the repatriation. Kenya, which was the only contributor, having put in $10 million that equates to 1 billion Kenya shillings that I think we need in this economy, says a United Nations camp can be set in Somalia. Besides abandoning Kenya to foot the bills alone, Nairobi has also protested that the world powers have frustrated attempts to have the Al-Shabaab, who operate from bases in war-torn Somalia, designated as a terrorist organization, which is also another subject, I think, for another day for discussion. But Kenya is saying, hey, this is an agreement we had in 2013. Kenya, Somalia, and UNHCR, they all agreed, and for our repatriation, I think it was supposed to be progressive, not the way the government now is announcing. And Kenya seems to have kept to his side of the bargain, but Somalia, UNHCR, and international bodies refuse to honor its part of the bargain. So from Kenya's position, I think they're saying, okay, we've been patient enough. We don't see you, taking on and honoring your part of the bargain. We even agreed to form a kitty, and we contributed, but you've not contributed. And we've been doing our part, so now we've had enough. Javen. Okay, I'll go to Douglas.
Thank you, Miriam. And we need to be very clear, like the way you are very articulate in saying about the timelines and also the contributions. Miriam, you cannot have money to train army people, 1,000 people per day. You cannot have money to host foreign delegations, go to ICJ, taking Kenya in court. And you cannot have money, Miriam, to take care of your people. I want any Somali national who wants to continue living in our country, who wants to continue defending the inept, incompetent, and also the isolated leadership of Mohamed Farmajo in Vira, Somalia. Miriam, how can a country have leaders who are so immoral and so not caring? I know Musa will agree with me. You cannot have money to take care of your people. Mm-hmm. Today, the government is taking care of people in Isiolo by bringing government services closer. Today, Musa, if he loses Uduma card, is a Duma card on ID, you replace it within 1 day, 2 weeks, you have his own ID. Those things were not possible before. They were made possible by the government. How can Kenya provide all that amount of money, be committed to the process, and their own country? All they can do is to fund military training for their people, 1,000 young Somalis per day. In Somalia, they have a military base that is training those people, Miriam. How can a country be so ungrateful? How can a country be so selfish to their own people? People are suffering. Miriam, I have gone to the Dadaab camp. I have gone to Kakuma camp. I have gone to internally displaced IDP camps in our country. I have seen people who have become refugees in their own country. Miriam, I have seen refugees try crossing Mediterranean Sea. I have seen refugees being crossed into some countries in Europe. They say they don't want refugees. I chronicle what Joe Biden is doing. I think that is what led to Brexit, written an article. Yes, Miriam.
That is what led to Brexit. UK leaving EU because of the refugees coming from Syria or the Middle East, especially. They did not.
Miriam, this perspective, I'm disagreeing with the Professor Jared Onyari and also Samuel Tawish when they want to tell us our country can continue taking care of these refugees. When developed countries in the first world, they don't want refugees. Biden the other day said that, please don't come because you think that I'm a good man. Please don't come. You are taking advantage of my goodness. Don't come to America. They don't want refugees. But in our country, we want to be told, please continue being nice, continue being good people. Our people are suffering. We want the coronavirus vaccine getting to the poor people. But we can find time and money to be able to repatriate refugees in their country. But their own government
continues crying fuel. We have a bad government, or a government that takes another country to ICJ and also funds in billions of dollars in those cases so that they can win. A country that continues training military people so that they can wage a war in Indian Ocean does not have money. We continue being told that Somalia is very unstable. When will these refugees go to their own country and build their own country? Musa is in Isoro building the nation. I'm in Meru building the nation. When will these people go back to their country and build their own country? We cannot continue. Since I was born in 1992, Somalia was fighting. Somalia until today, we are told it is unstable. When will these people go into their country and take their country back and also declare that they want to take their country back? Okay. When will they build their own country, Miriam? We are not being very unfair. Over 25 years ago, I'm 29 years. That means for over 4 years before I was born, these people are being even taken and also being put in this country, Miriam. Mm-hmm. There are people who are born in refugees camps. They have not known any other country. I agree. They don't know any other home. They know Kakuma and Dadaab. But when will these people go back to their own country, take down the inept and incompetent leadership in Mogadishu and bring a good leadership in their country? When will these people go back to their country, Miriam, and bring better governance in their country? And again, before I conclude, Miriam, we are being told we are being insensitive, the 14 days ultimatum. These people are even giving us ultimatums in Indian Ocean, Miriam. They are giving us, they are ringing war, the drums of war in Indian Ocean, Miriam. This is a country that wants to continue having their cake and eat it. They can't have their cake and eat it, Miriam. This is the high time we close these refugee camps because, Miriam, even in the developed world, nobody wants refugees in their country. Miriam, I understand the plight of refugees.
Douglas,
I understand the plight of refugees. Yes, Miriam.
One of our viewers here is saying, Douglas is just mad because Mira has been banned from going there. I don't know if it's that trivial for you. I don't think so. Go ahead. Okay, his system seems to have hung there, but he shall be back with us. Professor, I don't know if you're still there, but I'd like to know from you if, Kenya, Somalia, and UNHCR agreed in 2013 about a repatriation plan. Because at the end of the day, Kenya feels we cannot have this. We are happy to host these people and to offer them a very safe haven, but we cannot have these camps forever. So can we have a plan? Because now Somalia seems as though it's stabilizing, a bit of some challenges here and there, but it appears Somalia is getting its act together slowly, not exactly, but slowly, and it will take some time. So can we now work on a plan on having these people go back to the country, pole pole? But from what we've been seeing here, do you think there's a will from the government of Somalia to get its people back anytime soon? Because also Kenya was suggesting, how about we put these refugee camps in the border with Kenya, but on the side of Somalia, we continue to protect them and to support them, but when they are in the border, inside their country, and we protect them from there so that we're able to protect our borders back here. Professor? Oh, well, Professor seems to have left that conversation. Douglas? I mean, Tawish. Okay. I don't know whatever happened to my panelists this afternoon.
Sorry, I'm there. Sorry,
okay.
Miriam, I'm there.
You have to be there.
Sorry about that.
Go ahead.
I think there was just some, technical hiccup, but I'm back.
Okay.
Well, Miriam, I think from all indication, it's like the government of Somalia is not that very keen, and they're not very keen on ensuring or having any plan to ensure that maybe they take back the people who ran away because of that instability and lack of peace that was in Somalia. Because again, if they had indicated any kind of will and commitment towards that cause, we would have seen them actually initiating even these processes or initiating these agendas before, the hosting countries even, become like they're trying to remind them what exactly they're supposed to be doing. So when they have been working very hard to ensure that they stabilize Somalia, they will ensure that they have a fully fledged administration. That in itself should also tell them or remind them that they should also be working on a framework to take back the people who ran away because of that lack of peace. But again, when you look into President Farmajo and his interest is more of power, is more of how they can continually take advantage of the situation that was in Somalia for their own selfish interest. That is why you see when we are having this problem today of the maritime border dispute between Kenya and Somalia. So Farmajo and his government are not giving a keen interest into the whole scenario, in the whole situation rather, in as far as the displaced people are concerned. So it is my submission that indeed Somalia government is not ready, has not demonstrated the will and commitment to take back the people. And it is time that they wake up to this reality, they wake up to the occasion and see into it how they can actually make arrangements for these people to go back to their country without appearing like they're being coerced, that they are being forced. It will have been in the interest of a government to see into it that the people who ran away because of lack of peace, the people who ran away because maybe their homes were burned, or some of their kin were actually killed, are coming back home, or are finding reason really to come back, because finally our government or our country is now stable. But if the stability only means Farmajo and his government pursuing interests that matter to himself or those who are close to him, then that is not actually a government that is serving the interests of the people, I submit, Miriam.
Okay. Thank you so much. As we conclude, Musa Abdi, we've looked at an array of issues, the international protocols and treaty which Kenya is a party to, but also we've looked at Kenya's position and the government and what it says. This has become a nightmare to the country, and Kenya has always maintained that the refugee camps are breeding grounds for terrorism, including planning of terror attacks by militants. The agency to shut down the camps was stressed by 3 terrorist attacks that claimed the lives of over 100 Kenyans. Kenya cited intelligence that terror attacks on Westgate Mall in 2013, Lamu's Mpeketoni in 2014, and Garissa University in 2015 were planned from the camp. So we see the government's positions. I think the government of Kenya is now just wondering, should we put the interest of the people of Kenya first? Or should we care about the international obligations? Musa.
Thank you, Miriam. And as far as that is concerned, I will be brief, Miriam. And I think in any country, whatever is happening, for example, take an example of Ethiopia, Miriam, and the feud between Ethiopia and Egypt. The Prime Minister for Ethiopia, Dr. Abiy Ahmed, is taking Ethiopian interest over the international cause interest of Nile source countries. He is saying right to development and acquiring of resources is a sovereign responsibility. And that is why Ethiopia has taken the responsibility right away of refilling the dam, the Gad dam. Speaking about this Kenyan perspective, Miriam, there is no compromise about dealing with terrorists. There is no compromise about dealing with issues of national security as far as this is concerned, Miriam. It has been established. It is well known. Even there are some people who are using the business, Miriam, who are using the business of refugee, Miriam, to benefit from how they can exploit people in that camp. Let us sometimes also, it is not all the time we say good things about United Nations. Douglas will agree with me of what is happening in Democratic Republic of Congo, whereby vehicles with the United Nations symbols have been seized, carrying diamonds, carrying golds, carrying copper, Miriam, whereby these people are really benefiting indirectly. So I really doubt even sometimes, yes, I'm conservative in my political ideology. I really doubt even the presence of United Nations and how they are helping this refugee crisis. If they really meant to help them, they should not be focused on a long term of housing them in those semi-tents house. They should have been restructuring for them a better way they can resettle back into their country, Miriam. And let me tell you one thing. Give this war on terror another 5 to 6 years, Miriam. We are going to be shocked. We are going to be penetrated as far as our national security is concerned. That is the only way even we can secure our border. The moment, Miriam, and I agree with one thing, the Kenyan government should not use any sense of harassment. Ultimatum should not be issued, but let it be a reasonable timeline. Let's say 6 to 9 months. For these refugees to go back and to resettle in their country, Miriam, because I see Somalia is stable, a country which is now brushing shoulders with Kenya on export of miraa, that they are now rejecting, importation of this miraa into their country from Meru side. I think that country is really stable. They have now their own police, which have been well trained by AMISOM. They are now brushing shoulders by taking Kenya to Brussels, Miriam, in International Court of Justice on maritime issue. Then here is Kenya deciding on the very same issue in their law courts, Miriam, on the legality of whether these refugee camps should be closed or not. I feel that Uhuru Kenyatta is doing less, Miriam, in protecting Kenyans. And you don't have all the time, Miriam, to forsake and to uphold the views of the many vis-a-vis the views of the few, Miriam. These are people with their countries. Okay, I could have understood if they could have been stateless, like the people, okay, the Tuaregs who are living in Northern Africa, they are stateless, the Berbers. I could have understood, Miriam, like the people the other day, the Makondes who came all the way from Zimbabwe, Miriam, and Mozambique, whom they were given citizenship by President Uhuru Kenyatta during the eve of Jamhuri Day last year. I could have understood such kind of issues. But this is purely security, and I believe, Miriam, they should follow due process. Repatriation should be given, and it has nothing to do with maritime issue or the feud we have with Somalia, Miriam. This is purely national security, and all protocols should be observed, Miriam. I submit.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Musa Abdi. Douglas Kirimi, national interest versus international obligations. Which way we should be, should the Kenyan government do?
Miriam, in very simple terms, I have said the way Somali citizens are on this television page and every social media network that we are in, defending their sovereignty and saying how they are a sovereign nation. That's how the Republic of Kenya is a sovereign nation. And also, Miriam, I heard you ask Musa a very candid question. Mm-hmm. Is it the issue of refugees or the interest of our nation? It is the interest of our nation that should supersede anything, including the issue of President Uhuru Kenyatta and his government working on the repatriation of refugees and funding it, whereas Somalia cannot be able to fund that. Somalia can fund lawyers, can fund people to go to ICJ. Somalia can fund military training from Turkey. Somalia can take the Eagles army to Turkey to get trained, and also on ground training. And they are doing all those things. Mohamed Farmajo and his relatives are buying houses in Nairobi, but they cannot be able to feed people in Somalia. Those things are unacceptable, Miriam. And when it is an affront to our national security, Miriam. Remember, when Al-Shabaab bombed our country several times since 2013, it is our national honor, dignity, and also the lives of our people that was lost. It is our country that was shaken. This was an affront to our national security. And these people want to tell us we have signed, there is no signatory that Kenya is party to that is greater than the lives of the people of Kenya and than the security of the Republic of Kenya. There is no president that went and lifted a Bible or a Quran and said that I, President Uhuru Kenyatta, I swear to protect the refugees from Somalia. No, it is the people of Kenya that come first in the name of President Uhuru Kenyatta. Even my passport is written in my name as President of the Republic of Kenya. Grant this person security and safety from wherever he is going until he returns to my custody as the President of the Republic of Kenya. If my passport bears the signatory and the name of the President of the Republic of Kenya for me to go to another country and be granted safety, why is the President not mandated by the Constitution to be able to make sure that I'm okay? In our country, Miriam, our interest, our national security is more important than refugees. Refugees are coming to our country because their country is unstable. I have heard Musa, and as I conclude, Musa has asked a very candid question that I will ask even Somali nationals who are my friend, like Yunus. I will ask him, why are Somali people not going back to their country? When are they going to build their countries? Tawish is very comfortable building his own nation. Miriam is building his own nation. People should go back to their country and build their own country. There is nothing like signatory. In its signatory that we are party to that is an affront to our national security should be suspended until our security is guaranteed. Matiang'i has done the best to the best of interest of this nation. Remember, Ministry of Interior does not wake up and the CS there or permanent secretary wake up and issue ultimatums for nothing. It is to the best interest of our country. And Miriam, before we accommodate these refugees, it is said that these refugees have to come second to our citizens because, Miriam, it is our nation. Somalia is their country. They should go there, build their country, and become better citizens. For governance to be able to grow in Somalia, they need to go back there. If it is leadership in Somalia, they should uproot Mohamed Farmajo from office, but take their country back and be able to build it, Miriam. Yeah. Because as we conclude on this matter, Miriam, why is everyone telling us about refugees should be given 9 months period and all that? But if it is the people of Somalia, if the people of Kenya today in another country, the Reti Magufuli burnt our chicken and also sold our cows in Tanzania. Why didn't they tell Magufuli to give us some time to take our things and take them back to our country? No, Miriam, it is about the issues of our country and our sovereignty as a people. Okay. Nobody, no refugee has more right than I am as a citizen of this country. They should go back to their country with immediate effect. 14 days is too long. They should go back to their country.
Yeah, Magufuli ali-auction ng'ombe zenu ziliingia huko illegally, I hear. But the lives of cows and chicken, I don't know if they compare to that of human beings. But Imre, Yunus, you're saying the UN failed. They should have had a plan to solve this refugee issue, but it is in the UN it seems that the UN gains from maintaining the status quo. I think when you go back to international relations, there are a lot of things that happen, and sometimes we find ourselves fighting and putting out fires that really we have nothing to do with. Samuel Tawish, conclude the show for us. National interest versus international obligations. Which way, Kenya?
Indeed, Miriam, nothing can be further from the truth. National interests have always to supersede international or any other interest. But again, allow me just to make a few more clarification observations as regards to some of the sentiments maybe my fellow panelists have made. One regards to what happened in Tanzania about the late President John Pombe Magufuli, and may his soul indeed rest in eternal peace. That was more of like a diplomatic slip-off, but it had nothing really to do with the aspect of refugees. I think the burning of the chickens, the taking of the cows, and all those kind of things had nothing really to do with the question of refugees. Coming back to Kenya, my brother Douglas Bundi has indeed said that President Kenyatta swore by the Bible to protect the lives and the property and the safety of Kenyans, and I think that is the primary obligation that he has as a president. But again, the same president also swore to uphold the rule of law and the constitution. And I think the argument that we are having earlier is as to whether really Kenya is party or not to some of these international treaties, and it's true that Kenya is party to these international treaties, including that of the refugees. And therefore, when the president says, and it's actually inculcated in our Kenyan constitution, so when the president says he's going to uphold the rule of the law and to uphold the constitution, one of the things he lifted, by the way, if I should remind my brother Bundi Kirimi, when he was actually being sworn in, he lifted up the Bible and also the constitution that he was going actually to uphold it. And these international treaties actually have been domesticated in our Kenyan constitution, and therefore it is important for us not to be selective when it comes to some issues that maybe we feel in one way or another affect us in such kind of scenarios that we find ourselves as a country. I want to conclude by saying that it is important once more that the refugees that are in the country, more so those who have actually stayed in Kenya for far too long, actually there should be a way on how they can be repatriated back to their country, but not in a way that appears like we are giving them ultimatums or intimidating or even coercing them to go back without really having a necessary outlined process, a process that does not actually compromise the safety and security of these people. But because again, much as we talk of being a country with hospitality, it is not time for us just to prejudice the refugees who are in Dadaab or Kakuma camp or any other refugees who are in the country as we speak now. It is important for us to continue actually exhibiting that hospitality by ensuring that once we are done with the arrangement and all these plans, we do it in a way that does not affect these people going back to the places they came from. One, we have, like it has been said, we are going to have negotiations between Kenya, the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, Somalia, and other stakeholders. We want to see really whether the ground is safe for these people to go back. And I think my other panelists have alluded here, Miriam, that Somalia appears to be stable. Somalia appears to have actually restored her foreign policy, and therefore they cannot put their eye and effort and focus on international foreign policy and not actually a keen eye on stabilizing and giving their people homage or sanctuary. I think that should also the primary focus of President Farmajo's administration. I submit.
Okay, thank you so much.
Miriam.
Yes.
I need to do a small rejoinder to Tawish.
Aye.
Tawish, the President of the Republic of Kenya has protected refugees in this country, provided money. Actually, that money should have been put in a sovereign fund for unforeseen issues like coronavirus so that we can be vaccinated. By now, that money could have vaccinated a quarter of our people. That has been used in making sure that these Somali citizens are being taken to their country. The repatriation in Kenya has honored every aspect of that. Somalia has not honored that. Somalia has used that money that they're supposed to take their people back to their country, to train armies, to go to ICJ, and do other inconsequential things rather than the lives of their people and the well-being of their people. Kenya has honored every aspect of that, and it is the high time as a country we cross doors to that and also focus on other things, because it is also costing us, according to what Miriam has read there, it is also costing us hosting them, and also these repatriation processes. It is costing us so much. This is a national security affront on the people of Kenya.
Okay.
They should go back to their country.
Okay.
Thank you so much, my brother Bundi Kirimi. I think I'm not really in disagreement with your sentiments. The point here is that we should have rather a humanitarian approach in as far as repatriation of these refugees is concerned.
Okay.
That is one fundamental point we need to underscore. I'm not completely against them going back to Somalia, going to any country that they came from, but it has to be done with a humanitarian kind of approach. I think, Miriam, that has to be put in record. I submit.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Samuel Tawish, Douglas Kirimi, Musa Abdi, and Professor Jared Onyari, who left the conversation a bit earlier. I think he has a class. He's a professor. Yeah. And in 2016, the United Nations High Commission for Refugee had also expressed a profound concern over the then Kenyan government's intention to end the hosting of refugees, which was blocked by Kenya's High Court on grounds that Nairobi will be in breach of its international obligations. Kenya has been a leading beacon for international protection, said the UNHCR at the time, providing safety for hundreds of thousands fleeing persecution. So UNHCR acknowledges Kenya's role in this region, and it has become a leading beacon of hope. But at what extent and at what cost? I think that is what the government of Kenya is wondering right now. Thank you so much for watching. We shall be following this conversation and see your 14 days ultimatum by CS of Interior, Fred Matiang'i, how that will go, and we'll be back here to report for you. My name is Miriam Mugotu. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye for now. The government of Kenya is keen on the development of social economic infrastructure to support the realization of the Big Four agenda and Vision 2030. The ambitious infrastructure projects are aimed at opening up the country for business and bolster productivity, particularly in the agricultural, manufacturing and the service industry, as this would bolster employment opportunities. Part of these critical infrastructure projects include the ongoing 27-kilometer expressway linking Nairobi's Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and Nairobi's Westlands. Upon completion, the expressway will exponentially reduce travel times within Nairobi and thus help the country save man-hours, which is being lost in the traffic jams on a daily basis. The Lake Victoria Port Modernization Project to increase cargo handling capacity of the port and to increase Kenya's bilateral and multilateral trading within the region. The expansion of healthcare facilities to facilitate fruition of the country's universal healthcare coverage under the Big Four agenda. By speeding up movement of people and goods, the government is aiming to promote trading through reduction of travel times and costs.